You're my daughter! You will do as I command, and you will marry Loras Tyrell.
Tywin Lannister isn't just a villain, he's the kind of man who loved his family's last name more than himself. Game of Thrones gave us dragons, White Walkers, and a dozen characters who'd happily slit your throat in your sleep. But Tywin is the one who terrifies you without ever raising his voice. You don't fear Tywin Lannister because he might kill you. You fear him because by the time he decides you need to die, he's already made sure there's no one left to avenge you. Let's talk about what makes a truly terrifying villain. It's not the body count, though Tywin's is absolutely staggering when you start adding it up. It's not the cruelty. He has plenty of that in his arsenal too. It's the legacy of House Lannister. All-consuming obsession is what makes him so bone-chilling because you cannot negotiate with ideology. You can't appeal to a man who has already decided that his family name matters more than any individual life, including yours, including his enemies, including his own children. Our first glimpse of him comes in his now legendary scene in Season 1, Episode 7 of Game of Thrones. Within moments, Tywin's icy, unshakable composure is on full display, particularly when he for behaving foolishly. Street confrontation with Ned Stark, an impulsive act that damaged relations with both Winterfell and the Eyrie, while making the Lannisters look weak. Tywin operates from the shadows. Jaime acted on emotions rather than strategy.
Why is he still alive?
Tywin's next question is entirely logical. Since Jaime chose to act, why didn't he finish it? Why is Ned still breathing? Why is he still alive? Jaime responds with the honor of a knight. It wouldn't have been clean. His father is unmoved. Cleanliness is a luxury Tywin has never afforded himself. He pursues his goals through whatever means necessary, even if that means massacring innocents or betraying allies in the most savage manner imaginable. When two houses sworn to the Lannisters dared to rebel, Tywin erased them entirely. Men, women, and children alike. Houses Rhaen and Tarbeck were wiped from the earth without hesitation. That massacre later inspired the song The Rains of Castamere, a melody that would echo chillingly at the Red Wedding. Another monstrous act, another decisive victory for Lord Tywin. He then offers Jaime half his forces to rescue Tyrion from Lady Catelyn Stark's captivity. This is surprising given that Tywin didn't merely dislike Tyrion, he despised him. When Jaime raises this point, Tywin's answer is simple. He's a Lannister, and every day that he remains a prisoner, the less our name commands respect. Once again, it's never about the person. It's always about the name, the image, the power. Whether we can truly separate Tywin's obsession with House Lannister from his personal ego is another question entirely. From this single opening scene, we understand everything essential about the man. He is a calculating, cold, beloved architect of power with an unshakable vision of what he wants and precisely how to obtain it. His goal is the preservation and expansion of his family's legacy, and no moral boundary will stop him from achieving it. And the fact that Charles Dance genuinely butchers a real stag during that scene somehow makes it even more fitting. But the most compelling thread running through Tywin's story is his relationship with his children, especially Tyrion. So consumed was Tywin by the Lannister image that when his wife gave birth to a dwarf with mismatched eyes and a crooked face, he experienced it as a personal humiliation. The fact that Tyrion's mother died in childbirth twisted that resentment into something deeper and crueler. Can an infant be held responsible for his mother's death? Tywin seemed to believe so, a rare instance of emotion overriding his otherwise cold logic. As Tyrion grew older and developed a fondness for wine and brothels, the contempt between them only deepened. There's a pivotal scene in Season 3 where Tyrion requests Casterly Rock as his inheritance. His argument is reasonable. Cersei as a woman cannot inherit, and Jaime as a king's guard has surrendered his claim. So who else is left? The scene opens with 20 seconds of silence. Tywin keeps writing, forcing Tyrion to stand and wait, a deliberate power move designed to establish dominance before a single word is spoken. And yet, despite being in the weaker position, Tyrion is as one of the very few people capable of unsettling Tywin in return, as his father's expression occasionally betrays. After Tyrion makes his case, Tywin offers vague promises of future reward, but shuts down the question of Casterly Rock with terrifying finality. He declares he would sooner be consumed by rot than hand the castle to Tyrion, and delivers those words with such measured, unhurried cruelty that Tyrion has no choice but to leave in silence. Tywin speaks slowly with deliberate pauses, forcing people to hang on every syllable. It's a display of absolute control. Notice how Tyrion begins the conversation with steady eye contact and confident posture, then gradually unravels as his father deploys one psychological weapon after another. One of the most powerful men in the Seven Kingdoms is rendered helpless in his own father's study. Tywin views his children not as people to be loved, but as instruments to be deployed. That's why he assigns Tyrion to serve as Hand of the King, and why he engineers Cersei's marriage against her will. By wedding Cersei to Loras Tyrell, Tywin would cement Lannister dominance over the realm. Cersei resists, and the resulting confrontation is another masterclass in manipulation. In the scene where both Tyrion and Cersei learn of their arranged marriages, Tywin has already told Cersei about Tyrion's betrothal to Sansa Stark, but said nothing about her own marriage to Loras. She enters the room confident and even slightly smug, and Tywin uses that good mood against her. By withholding the news of her own marriage until the last possible moment, he catches her completely off guard, giving her no time to mount a coherent objection. When she does try to protest, Tywin raises his voice. "My daughter." He rarely shouts, and that rarity is precisely what makes it so effective. The room falls silent immediately because everyone understands the kind of man he is. It isn't an emotional outburst, it's a calculated escalation. He then exits the room at the exact moment he holds the advantage, denying anyone the opportunity to respond. Tyrion tries to appeal to basic decency, noting that Sansa is a child who has already suffered greatly. Tywin's response confirms what we already know. Her happiness is irrelevant. Every person in his world is a playing piece, including his own children. This coldness, however, has a significant blind spot. Tywin pays so little genuine attention to the people around him that he completely misses what others have long since noticed, that Cersei's children are Jaime's. Tyrion knows, Stannis knows, and yet the man who fathered both Jaime and Cersei, too preoccupied with grand strategy and his own self-image, never sees it. When Cersei finally confesses the truth in season 4, the shock on Tywin's face is unguarded and genuine. One of the only moments where his composure truly breaks, but even then, he recovers quickly. What troubles him is not the act itself, but its potential consequences for the Lannister name. The final scene of Tywin's life is one of the most memorable in the entire series. Tyrion, freed from his cell and preparing to flee, makes a detour to settle an old score. Tywin himself had long been trying to dispose of his son quietly, placing him in the vanguard of a losing battle, then engineering a trial that ended in a death sentence. Tyrion is done being a piece on his father's board. When Tyrion enters the Tower of the Hand, he finds the chambers empty, but not entirely. Shae is in his father's bed, the same woman, the same practice Tywin had spent a lifetime condemning Tyrion for. In that moment, the carefully constructed image of Lord Tywin Lannister begins to collapse. He is not the principled patriarch he presented to the world. He is a hypocrite, a man who enforced standards on others that he secretly abandoned for himself. In the books, there's even a theory suggesting Tywin had a private tunnel built to the brothel, presumably for his own use. Tyrion eventually finds his father in the privy. Tywin is startled to see him free, and even more startled when a crossbow is aimed at his chest. What follows is one of the finest exchanges of the season. Cornered and unarmed, Tywin must now rely entirely on the one weapon he's always had. But this is unfamiliar territory. He is accustomed to scheming among courtiers in silk, not staring down a loaded crossbow from a commode. He tries flattery first, praising Tyrion's will to survive. It doesn't land. He shifts to reassurance, insisting he never truly intended to let Tyrion die. Tyrion sees through it immediately. Tywin then reaches for his final card. I'd never let them execute you. Tywin had assumed, as he always did, that he was the smartest person in the room, that he could extend the conversation, shift the dynamic, find an angle. He underestimated Tyrion one final time, and Tywin Lannister, Lord of Casterly Rock, Hand of the King, the most feared man in Westeros, meets his end in the most undignified circumstances imaginable. In the end, it was pride that undid him. He was brought down not by armies or rival lords, but by the son he had spent a lifetime dismissing. And that is precisely what makes Tywin such a remarkable villain. His terror isn't rooted in supernatural power or raw brutality. It's rooted in intelligence, in patience, in the ability to read a room and bend it to his will. He operates without morality, without sentiment, and seemingly without limit. When he speaks, every word feels like it was chosen weeks in advance. He doesn't need to fill the silence. The silence works for him. In a world populated by dragons and undead armies, the most frightening figure is simply a brilliant, ruthless man with unlimited ambition and the resources to act on it. But to truly appreciate how terrifying this man is, you need to understand what made him. Tywin Lannister grew up watching his father, Tytos, be mocked and disrespected by lords who borrowed Lannister gold and never bothered to pay it back. He watched vassals laugh behind his father's back. He watched his family's name, a name that should have commanded fear and reverence, become something people smirked at in the halls of their own castles. And young Tywin decided with cold and absolute certainty that he would spend every single day of the rest of his life making sure that no one ever laughed at a Lannister again. That's not a villain born from trauma in the conventional storybook sense. That's a villain born from shame, from pride. And pride, as Game of Thrones demonstrates over and over again across 8 seasons, is the most durable and most destructive force in the entire world of Westeros. It outlasts love, it outlasts grief, it outlasts everything. By the time we meet him, Tywin has already built an empire from the ruins of his father's humiliation. He is the richest man in the 7 kingdoms. He is the patriarch of the most powerful house. He is a former hand of the king whose reputation alone has ended entire wars before they started. Other villains in the show want power. They scramble for it, scheme for it, bleed for it. Tywin already has it. What he wants now is something far more ambitious, far more impossible. He wants permanence. He wants to build something that cannot be taken away, something that will carry the Lannister name into history long after he is gone. That ambition is completely understandable. That ambition is also completely monstrous.